concerns you the most?
What concerns me the most is the retention and the recruitment process that I believe is really exacerbating a lot of different issues. I also am very concerned about the lack of training in various different areas. As we know, a lot of the deputies have been in some critical situations, and largely because of the lack of training, they have placed those deputies in harm and also placed our neighbors in harm. Typically, when you have a violent situation, if you look at them, the consistent patterns is lack of access to training, lack of leadership, lack of a communication channel for frontline all the way up to the mid-level to the executive level to understand what's going on in your environment. So in my background critically is about researching, looking at different policies and how to implement those policies in place, being reticent and understanding your community so that you can address those particular issues in a very pragmatic way that is sensitive to the environment that you're taking on. So, you know, does anybody know their sheriff's deputy by name in your community? How about as a business owner, do you know your sheriff deputy by name? So when we talk about community engagement, it's a travesty that when we come into those particular issues, and I think that's probably what we're hearing as far as that article is concerned and other issues is symptomatic of not having a department that is community engagement centric, community resources centric, or are not providing the resources that are sensitive to the needs. And we'll look at various different things, right? Whether it's mental health resources, or whether it's looking at and supporting the courts and the DA with regards to low-level nonviolent crimes. Doing that in a very specific way, but working together as a team and understanding how what we do in the field affects the judicial system and the jail. If we don't change what we're doing, if we don't change the business of what we're doing with a finite amount of space in a jail that we have, we'll never have a jail large enough. He talked about $7 million, it's not it. It's $17 million contract with Haskell County, the 6-hour drive each way for largely people that are indigent and do not have the resources for representation. That is a travesty, and it's violating their civil rights on a regular basis not to have that access. So what we have to do is continue to push forward, which are some of these things are pretty new when we talk about cite and release, which we're all going over to diversion programs. We need to increase those in those areas. Public Defender's Office, which is just fairly new, but now in every single court. I'm glad to be a part of that. And then pretrial services, which will create many different ways to address low-level nonviolent crimes, but also community supervision initiatives so that people can continue to be held accountable, but at the same time support themselves and their families and be good taxpayers as well. And then the expansion of the mental health court with some really good success with Elaine Brown coming in and really taking the baton and addressing that. I think it's critical that we continue to go forward with that. And again, training, which is there's a lack of, and how to utilize those resources at their avail is my concern.
Thank you. And my next question is going to